Hello, my name's David Turner and I'm the Director of Professional Learning for the Queensland Association of State School Principals. And welcome to Connections, which is a series of short conversations with professional learning partners of the Association. And I'm here today with Dr Pete Stebbins. So welcome Pete, and thank you for your time.
Thanks David, thanks for having me here.
I'm really interested in hearing a little bit about your story, because I hear from the field lots of positives about the work you're doing out in schools. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, certainly one of the great things we get to do in schools is what we call the High Performance Teams program, tailored for education. And it's this wonderful opportunity where we get to sit with schools and help all the staff, I guess, come to grips with the fact that it's a challenging environment, not just because of the really important work they do in educating students, but because of the complexities of being a large team, 30, 40, 50 people all having to work together. Often schools don't recognise that they're quite complex organisations in their own right. So they feel relieved to know that there's this whole other element that they can put attention on, and in doing so they can lift their own performance.
Well, teams in particular I'm interested in today, because your book, iTeams, I guess the first question is, what is it about the name, iTeams?
Yeah, sorry. And of course, it's not related to iPhones and iPads, but clearly I understand the connection. What it's about is this simple idea that comes, I guess, originally from Dr Seuss of all people. And there's a classic line in the children's book about, why fit in when you were born to stand out? And we take that idea on in the world of work, adults in schools, teaching staff, to say, look, you do absolutely need to stand out and achieve. You need to be the best teacher you can be, but you also need to fit in. And so we take Dr Seuss one step further and say, to be in a high performance team, you need to do both. You need to fit in, which is the team bit, and stand out, which is the I bit. We've heard that line when I grew up, there's no I in teams, and unfortunately that can make people just only focus on fitting in to the extent they no longer achieve, they no longer drive it forwards. So iTeams is simply designed to bring those two things together.
Right. And in your book you talk about 4 key performance indicators for teams. Can you touch on those for me?
Yeah, we like to take the, complex world of organisational dynamics and make it really accessible and really clear and simple. So we call it the High Performance Teams Framework, which is effectively like a triangle, and at the top of the triangle is obviously being a high performance team, and when a whole school's like that, it's a high performance school. Underneath that though are these 2 circles. One of them's about engagement, which is about fitting in, being the glue, sticking together, and the other's about achievement, about getting results, about exceeding targets when we think about school improvement. Beneath those 2 layers are those 4 KPIs we talked about, and the 2 of those are about how we get to that engagement level, how we really maximise the glue that holds us together, and the other 2 are about how we make sure we really achieve those stretch targets, those improvement goals.
Okay, so you're touching on things like social capital, trust, a focus on outcomes.
Yeah, that's right. And so if we take that idea further and we look at the bottom of that high performance teams framework, those 4 KPIs you alluded to a minute ago, the trust, the social capital, we like to kind of address that in having really simple ideas around KPIs for what we call work life and wellbeing, which is about developing a level of trust where we disclose what's going on in our lives. It's not about airing our dirty laundry, but it's about teams being vulnerable with each other to the extent that we can have each other's backs, and we don't misunderstand if someone's not performing properly. We don't think they're lazy. We have a bigger context. We can look after that person.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And my own experience is that trust and engagement of the team's really vitally important. So tell us more.
Yeah, so part of that then is the work-life wellbeing stuff that we disclose and talk to each other about that. The other part of the engagement piece is about what we call team dynamics and leveraging diversity. And that's about getting people to take the time to understand each other's personalities. Who are the introverts? Who are the extroverts? What are all the other elements of diversity and uniqueness that we bring? And then how do we have a set of understandings and rules that are explicit so that we can not only make sure we all get to do the work we're naturally good at, we can tap each other on the shoulder if it's not going right.
Yeah, okay. And it's often the quiet ones in the group that actually have a significant contribution to make.
That's right. And unfortunately, talkers like me, all good intention, drown out the quiet people. So in a high performance team, those are those first 2 KPIs for engagement. We have a real clear understanding of work-life and wellbeing needs, and a real clear understanding of individual differences and leveraging diversity. The other part of the high performance teams framework is achievement, and that's where the last two of our 4 KPIs are. The first of those is about vision and action, and the second part of achievement is about performance reporting.
Okay, vision and action. What do you mean by that?
Look, it comes from the corporate world, and it's almost by way of an apology, but most school leaders know about SWP, or school-wide pedagogy, and it's that whole idea that we really have a clear vision statement, or school-wide pedagogy. What we do, though, in a high-performance team is link that to a very detailed action plan, or in my home state, Queensland, Australia, we call them school improvement plans. And it's getting those two things working together so everybody's on the same page, which leads us to the final of the 4 KPIs, which is a culture of performance reporting. And once I have that action plan or improvement plan, I need to get that up on a data wall, and I need to have staff meetings and engage with that. And in my staff meetings, have really clear protocols and time limits, so we always get through all the important things we need to talk about.
So those are the 4 KPIs and how they play out in schools. What's the first step? How does a school leader start to work in this space?
Yeah, look, that's a really important question because again, cultures are really tight in schools. A lot of schools have been doing certain things the same way forever. And so one of the most important things to do is to begin gently in introducing this idea of being a high-performance team. We have a number of little explanation videos on a YouTube channel. We often turn up and simply do a little 1-hour fun time with them. But it's about softly. You know, we call it try before you buy. So particularly, you know, when people think about the start of the next term or the start of the next school year, they might want to think about how they can either play some videos or have us have a chat, do a short session, and really road test the idea, get some political traction around getting everybody excited about lifting both their achievement and engagement as a school, because if they do that, they're going to be a high performance school.
Yeah, so, and what I'm hearing is that typically in schools we talk about the leadership team, but you're suggesting that the team idea actually has to extend right through your school, and there's a slightly different role for the principal in making sure that's the case. It's a culture question.
That's right. Well, teams, if you like, there's layers of it. So our work in schools, we often introduce the try before you buy idea with the leadership team, and the principal, we might do some work with them as a couple of hours or a day together. Then as that becomes familiar and people grow confident in as we've already described, some really simple techniques, they become change agents, if you like, to all the different teams in the school. But that's right, we need to first understand how teams really exist in schools, because they do, whether they're official or not, and then work out how we can best introduce high performance teams to them.
Thanks very much, Pete. Really enjoyed the conversation, and thank you for introducing us to high performance teams.
Thank you for having me.
And if you enjoyed the connection today, the websites are on the screen. Please feel free to make contact to continue them. I look forward to talking to you next time.